when that city was being completely destroyed, with death and screams echoing everywhere. Without caring the slightest bit for my own life, I handed over every single magical weapon and every precious item I had into the hands of my girlfriend Luo Wangqing so that she could safely escape that hell. But little did I know that the person I loved more deeply than my own life would plunge a terrifying dagger into my chest from behind. She teamed up with Chu Tianxiao to betray me behind my back, ruthlessly whispering in my ear that my 5 years of true love and all my sacrifices were just a stepping stone for her, a deal to secure her own future. The pain and suffocation in my heart at that moment were far deeper than the wound from that dagger, and in that terrifying darkness of death, right after my last breath faded away while being crushed beneath Chu Tianxiao's feet, a mysterious glowing stone suddenly chose me. The next time I opened my eyes, I was exactly 5 years in the past, standing on that massive platform where the global lordship game had just begun. I had all those agonizing memories, the venom of betrayal burning in my chest, and a unique 100-fold return magical artifact resting in my system inventory. This time, when Luo Wangqing deliberately fell into the crowd, putting on the same old disgusting act to gain my sympathy, I didn't melt like before. Instead of taking her in my arms, I pulled her up and, unleashing all my rage on her cheeks, slapped her hard one after another in front of everyone, and walked away without showing a shred of sympathy because I had no time to waste on that traitor anymore. Instead, I needed to become the most powerful person in this world. In this new life, I deliberately chose the deadly, death difficulty dense forest for my territory because I remembered perfectly well from my past life that the world's largest S-rank mine would be discovered right there in the future. A mine for which rivers of blood were shed among the top guilds globally. The moment I stepped into that terrifying forest, I earned the magical achievement of being the first in the world, directly doubling my strength and agility, and then, using my 100 times artifact, I created a secret dungeon. There, I killed a mere skeleton, multiplied its loot 100 times, and sold it to the system, earning such limitless wealth right at the start that no other player could even imagine at that time. With this boundless wealth and the fire of revenge burning in my chest, I laid the first brick of an impenetrable empire in that forest of death, an empire that no one in this world could ever dream of wiping out. As a system reward, I received an incredibly beautiful S-rank silver-haired dragon girl, whom I named Xiaowang, and when she promised me her absolute loyalty without any hesitation, I didn't treat her as a mere reward or slave, but accepted her as my most trusted companion in this terrifying journey of death. While working in the mine, thanks to my S-rank talent, I was obtaining a ton of priceless and rare gems, but the ordinary stones and iron needed to build the base walls were almost impossible to find. So, making a smart move, I assigned the mining work to Xiaowang and went to the dungeon myself, wiping out skeletons to gather money. Meanwhile, intending to test my real strength and gather more funds for my base, I went to a PK arena, where a highly arrogant player was degrading our people, which made my blood boil. I deliberately placed a massive bet from my side against his entire wealth, and the moment the countdown for that bloody duel ended, he launched a deadly strike at my neck with all his might and speed. However, faced with the doubled agility from my achievement and my brilliant golden armor, all his tricks failed, and with a single swing of my heavy sword, I made him bite the dust, proving my absolute worth. Taking that massive sum won from the arena, I rushed straight back and hired 20 top-tier workers from the tavern. Right before those 3 days of protection ended, completely ignoring my sleep and agonizing fatigue, we all poured our blood and sweat into the work for 36 hours straight, where I even personally carried water from the fast-flowing river and boosted the morale of every single worker so that an impenetrable wall could stand to hide us in that fierce forest. I built silver archer towers on all 4 corners of the city and equipped them with golden repeating crossbows, and the exact moment that 3-day safe period ended and the system's magical shield faded into the air and shattered forever, a massive level 23 monster rat tried to attack our base in the terrifying darkness of the night. But those exceptional towers I built instantly unleashed such a barrage of arrows that the monster was forced to flee for its life, badly wounded. That first small victory filled me with a strange sense of peace that my day and night hard work was paying off. and in that exact moment my territory upgraded to level 2, where instead of choosing flashy armor, I chose copper resources to strengthen my walls even further, because I knew perfectly well that surviving in this forest of death was far more important than any show-off. After securing the territory to acquire real power, I stepped into the camp of the endless ice field, and disguising myself in a secret underground exchange, I sold my 100-fold multiplied priceless gems to earn 232 gold coins, which I used to buy excellent armor and enhancement stones for myself, ensuring that no one could guess my true wealth. After that, to secure a special hidden reward, I teamed up with some strangers, including Shen Ruoqing and Donghai Wang, and stepped into a terrifying corpse cavern mission, where amidst the stench of rotting corpses and narrow passages, we faced a level 10 zombie commander whose heavy blows were shaking the entire cave. I brought him down to dust using my agility and golden sword, striking at the cracks in his armor after slowing his speed with a frost potion. And right then, my sharp eyes found a hidden mechanism in the cave wall, leading me to a secret path where I obtained a rare alchemist class scroll and the magic eye of petrification. But this joy was short-lived, as a gang of red-named bloodthirsty killers returned like wolves, launching a deadly ambush from behind to snatch all our hard work and the boss's loot. The fear of death was clearly visible on my teammates' faces, but the suppressed pain and betrayal from my past 5 years turned into a terrifying rage inside me, and pushing my teammates back, I stared directly into the eyes of those killers all by myself. Using my new magical eye, I froze their speed like stone, and my veins popping, I tore through the chests of those monsters one by one with the edge of my sword, seeing which their terrified leader, Huang, fled the scene begging for his life. After this bloody game, my own name had turned blood red, so I safely sent my team away with their share, and isolated myself so the shadow of my enemies wouldn't fall on them. And in that icy silence of solitude, having reached level 10, I opened that alchemist scroll and, amidst mysterious blue flames, claimed the grand title of becoming the world's very first alchemist, which instantly doubled my magical power. Returning to my territory, I used the loot from those killers to upgrade my base's raw walls into impenetrable level 2 steel walls, and using my alchemy powers, I gave birth to my first Iron Wolf, the first soldier of a terrifying and tireless army that would feel no pain, no fatigue, and no betrayal, while the news of my exploits earned me the title of a mysterious treasure hunter in the newspaper. Hiding my identity, when I reached a ruined tower, I saw assassins from a ruthless guild called the Blood Prison Brotherhood surrounding a monument to murder someone inside. Without fear, I threw a crimson flame bomb among them and, amidst the smoke, used my magical eye and blood sacrifice blade to bring a horrifying death to everyone, including their fierce leader, acquiring an incredibly dangerous weapon called the Seed of Lightning, and saving Shen Ruoqing once again, who in return gave me a special map of herbs. To further boost my strength, I bought dragon blood herbs from the market, where Blood Prison thugs tried to rob me in broad daylight, but thanks to the safe zone rules and guard Captain Grian, they were humiliated and kicked out of the camp. Eating those herbs gave my power a terrifying surge, and right then, I heard an explosion in the northern part of the forest, where hiding, I saw a knight named Cecil and a fierce level 40 knight ruthlessly hunting a wounded girl named Phyllis. Clashing directly with that level 40 knight was an invitation to death, so using my wits, I lured him toward the den of a ferocious level 53 bear, and while that terrifying bear was tearing the knight apart, I quietly saved Phyllis's life and also stole the bear's 5 cubs, bringing them back to my territory, because now I had to increase my strength at all costs so that the impending monster tide and the Blood Prison assassins would tremble at the mere mention of my name. After saving Phyllis from that terrifying bear's den and keeping her safe in my territory, I urgently needed to expand my population and power even faster, so alongside Shen Ruoqing, I laid the foundation of a secret guild named Moonlight Goddess, and handed her half my wealth, 1,000 gold coins, with the responsibility to capture the top 10 guild registration slots. Following that, we arrived in a massive city where, disguised as an ordinary merchant, I purchased a multitude of animals, magical seeds, and hired several wounded but highly experienced ex-soldiers for my base, ensuring my people would receive proper training. Greg, the vice president of the merchant guild, sensed my hidden powerful weapons using his magical Eye of Truth, truth, making me a gold member on the spot and handing over 2 terrified enslaved female guards. On the city streets, when a corrupt and powerful centurion publicly humiliated Shen Ruqing and tried to drag her away forcefully, I didn't stay silent. I used my new gold member card to summon the guild's deadly knights and got that arrogant officer publicly executed, saving a ruined weaponsmith's family who also joined my empire. From that same merchant guild, I bought a magical seed for 2,000 gold that bore fruit only once every 1,000 years. And then, pushing the engines of my spatial sailboat to their absolute limits, we shook off some unknown, fierce mounted pursuers and returned to my territory. Upon returning to the base, a massive and emotional secret was revealed. Those 2 terrified slave guards, Serena and Stella, were actually loyal protectors of Phyllis. And Phyllis wasn't just any ordinary girl. She was the only daughter of a former duke, framed on false charges with a 10,000 gold bounty on her head. I gave all 3 of them shelter, shattered the chains of their slave contracts, and began using their experience to prepare my army for the incoming threat. Using my wealth and alchemy, I expanded the city further, added an undead pyramid to my 100 times dungeon, and upgraded my territory to level 3, but my heart started pounding wildly when the terrifying siren of the month's final day began to wail, because now we had to face that horrific death difficulty monster tide, where hundreds of thousands of bloodthirsty beasts carrying the message of death stood right at our gates, ready to turn my new empire to ashes. As the last day of the month arrived, a terrifying rift tore open in the sky, and in the very first wave of that death difficulty monster tide, over 100,000 bloodthirsty beasts launched a massive assault on our base, a sight that would make even the strongest of hearts tremble. I positioned 20 people on my walls and reduced the first wave to ashes with blazing oil and a barrage of magical arrows, but as the second wave brought even more ferocious level 40 monsters, cracks began to appear in my walls, and my gold wolves started breaking one by one. When the final and most horrifying wave unleashed level 50 monsters, I had no choices left. I dropped thousands of self-destructing weapons right into their midst, triggering massive explosions, while Xiaoang held them back with her freezing breath. After a horrifying and exhausting 12-hour battle, as the last monster fell, I was rewarded with a glowing divine blade called the Radiant Holy Sword for my victory. But my ultimate goal was still far away, as I had to hunt down the most terrifying boss of the ice field, the Savage Bull King. Risking my life, I entered the exclusive level 30 Thunder Prison, dodging an enormous thunder dragon to not only loot its entire treasure, but also acquire an S-rank dragon egg and the Heavenly Thunder demon slaying bow. Meanwhile, assassins from the Blood Prison Brotherhood blocked my path once again, but this time, I crushed them so brutally with my terrifying army of bloodthirsty demon armor that their leader fell to his knees begging, and I forced him to sign a soul contract, extracting all of his guild's secrets. Fully prepared, I launched an assault on the Savage Bull King alongside my new holy sword and 200 armor riders, and when that fierce boss morphed into his most terrifying third form, I detonated all my magical weapons simultaneously. The horrifying explosion shattered my armor to pieces, but when the dust settled, the boss had been turned to ashes, and I was granted the title of Lord of the Icefield. Just as I pushed open that final door, I found myself surrounded by more than 10,000 bloodthirsty players of the Blood Prison Brotherhood, who had sealed every escape route with their magical barrier, but little did they know that I had just paid 5 million gold to buy control over the entire Campbell camp, and I now wielded the terrifying power of the Holy Realm, a power that would turn their arrogance into ashes forever.